It is a nightmare story that's simply hard to hear. Alice Whalen Barrett says she lived through years of abuse while living at an orphanage for kids in Vigo County. 40 years later, she's telling her story. But she says she was far from the only victim. We found others who have their own terrifying stories. Now, it's the conclusion of our special report on the Glenn home. The reunion was decades in the making. It's important to point out some of the details and language in this story may not be suitable for all ages. They are people on a journey back in time.
This looked just like this before they revamped it.
This group had reconnected recently through social media. On this day, they met at a place they called home for the first time in 40 years, the Glenn home.
Where do you guys want to start?
When I was 6,
We're following y'all.
How about if we start with big boys?
Yeah.
They all lived here as kids, each taken from his or her parents. Here, they were supposed to have a better life.
So there were some good things too. At least we had a bed to sleep in.
And they told us plenty of it was better.
This was the dorm.
The kids, now fully grown, took us on a tour of their old stomping grounds. They relived memories of horse riding, ball games,
And I wanted the can that day.
and causing mischief. They showed off where they slept, where they ate, and where they played.
You got locked in there? By whom?
And some of them showed us where they cried. Alice Whalen Barrett, Connie Higgins, Rhonda Stewart, Emma Bowser, and others lived here while Iva Lane was in charge. They say Lane abused them. Before this tour, they met with us over the course of several months, sharing their stories for the first time.
In my book, he was the devil. He was the devil. He was horrifying.
Emma Bowser was only a small child when she went to Glenn home. Within months, she says Lane continued a cycle of sexual abuse in her life.
When he got me in there, that's when he threw me down, hit me, beat me up, raped me. I didn't know if I wanted to live or not anymore. I felt like I wanted to die.
Bowser says she still has trouble dealing with the past. And she's not the only one.
Be like, well, I'm just glad I got out when I did.
Rhonda Stewart also continues to live with painful memories. We found records showing she had a heart condition when she was a child. One procedure required doctors going through her groin. She told us of a time Lane demonstrated on her how it would work. She was no more than 6 years old.
He kind of, put his hands where it was supposed to be and everything. And
How did you feel when
I felt kind of weird because I thought, well, I'd already been through this 3 or 4 times. I could have probably told him more than what he could have told me.
Back on the tour, a trip to the gym unblocked tough memories of an incident Connie Higgins says she had with Lane.
Al was cleaning the bleachers, and when he come in, he said, "You did a rotten job." He said, "I got to show you something." And he put me up here and took me in there and locked me in.
I asked a question and he pushed me and he says, "Are you really that stupid?"
Higgins had to go to the home after she says her father sexually molested her. While there, she claims Lane was emotionally, physically, and mentally abusive.
There's other things that are hidden in the back of my head that I can't remember. It's so hard after all these years. If I had to do over again, I would have probably stayed in my home and took the abuse.
That's where he would lock me.
Oh my God, yes. Oh my God.
As we wrapped up the tour, Alice Whalen Barrett saw something that unlocked her deepest pain.
That's where he would lock me whenever I was being bad.
She says sometimes for hours on end. It was in the main building where Lane had his office. We asked her how employees could let a screaming child be locked in a room for hours. But Whalen Barrett says the staff was small, and Lane had convinced others she was screaming for attention.
I was hated by everybody. Everybody thought that I was this special Whalen.
It's a claim other Glenn homers who didn't want to go on camera confirmed to us. We searched for other employees who could vouch for these claims. But Sheila Priester with the current Vigo County Homes for Children told us the records of employees who were there at the time are gone. Still, it was an emotional culmination for the group.
I'd be sleeping and I could feel his breath on me in the middle of the night and his hands around my throat, and he would put a pillow over my face and choke me. Why? You talked to your sisters today. I hated this place. I hated this place.
I still do.
I hated the son of a bitch that ran it.
But for these willing to share their stories, it was perhaps the biggest step they could take.
It does help, in a sense, strange sense, to see this place. That probably doesn't make any sense. It's gone now, and that son of a bitch is never going to hurt me again.
They were the forgotten kids of Glen Home. They've grown, many have married, some have moved away, gotten degrees, and counseled children just like they were. But they all share a bond. They lived here. We asked why they're telling their stories now, and we got several answers with the same theme, hopefully to help others.
If you're being abused, don't stop. Tell everybody.
Special thanks to Chief Photojournalist Mike Latta and executive producer Annie Johnston for their help with this story. Ivor Lane died in 2008. We reached out to his children. His oldest daughter, Janita, was the only one to return our calls. She denied any wrongdoing of her father, but did say to us, quote, "If he did it, he's paying for it now." A few other family members who asked not to be identified contacted us. They said they were appalled hearing the allegations. After hearing the women's personal accounts to us, they believe them. Stay with us. News 10 will be right back.